Welcome in, everybody, to this Thursday edition, observing this part of our sunset on Thursday, September 11th. The date, of course, worth noting for all of us as we reflect on that. But enjoying for us here in Wave Country, nice quiet end to our evening. A little bit of a breeze there. Temperatures, summer's not quite done with us. It's 84 degrees, probably on the warmer side of things for you folks out enjoying the festivals and the music and all the fun. Looking forward to this weekend. So something we'll obviously keep in top of mind as we unpack, talk about the big stories of the day. Welcome you into Wave News at 11 later on. But for now, might as well bring you in here to the Wave Now studio. Happy to be joined by our Wave sports anchor, Dusty Baker. Always good to see him. I'm Jose Susaya. Appreciate you joining us on all the different streams on social media and on the Wave Now app. And Dusty, it is that season where you might argue some folks who love their football, high school, college, of all the varieties. I laugh at thinking as far as the temperature is concerned, maybe you want it a little cooler for the guys. They'd love to play in cooler weather. I think with our preview tonight, though, of the TDFN game of the week, these are two teams who don't want to waste any more time not confronting each other on the field of play to see who's got the better makeup. So walk us through what you've been seeing this week.
Yeah, this is gonna be an interesting one. You have DuPont Manual, so Manual will be on the road at Atherton. It's crazy, Jose. You kind of mentioned how the weather pattern has changed a little bit. Obviously, it's getting hot like this week, but it's felt like we've had football weather. And of course, when you look at Manual to start out, they've looked like a solid football team led by Jerry Trainer. This kid is special. We did a story with him yesterday. 6 touchdowns already on the year. He's going to Bethune-Cookman. That's in Daytona Beach, kind of near your neck of the woods.
He's at North Florida, but Bethune-Cookman's got some history to it. But it's happy to see, there's someone recognizing, I think, even in my early dip into this season, Dusty, where name and the output Jerry Trainer's had almost like a perennial player of the week.
Yes.
And it's early in the season. So who knows if he can keep this. I'd love for him to keep this pace up of the output he's having on the field.
And he made a good point. When I talked to him, he was like, he had a touchdown that was also called back. So, I mean, his numbers don't even fully show, I think, how dynamic he is. But he is the face for that squad. For Atherton, they've just been blowing team after team out. And specifically the way that they've been able to accomplish this, I mean, I'll be honest, Jose, this is one of those squads that when you look at the depth that they've had over the last few years, it is improved, and it's because of their head coach, Anthony White, what he has been able to accomplish in a short period of time as the head coach of this program. I mean, he's built a program that is worthy of winning games. And so he opens against Central Hardin, shuts them out 48-0. Southern, they did what they were supposed to do against Southern. They won 44-0. They beat Mercer County 28-7. So they've allowed 1 touchdown this whole season. And of course, they're going to be up for a challenge. Talking about having to match up against a kid like Jerry Trainer, you're basically talking about the Atherton defense versus Trainer. And so that's going to be a fascinating matchup to watch this week. And it's early on. Manual has lost 1 game this year, but if you take a look at just what Atherton has been capable of doing, it's thanks to this man himself. It's thanks to Anthony White.
And speaking of, I believe you did have a chance this week to get a little bit of Coach White's mindset coming into a game where, at the very least for Atherton, if we're wanting to hang our hat on defense, because mind you, talk about as a coach who maybe hangs his hat on defense, if that is your calling card to say, in 3 games, I've only allowed 7 points.
Yes.
And if you're, again, in a sport where you're understanding the dynamics of how you have to score points, it's PATs, safeties, field goals, touchdowns. Like, you understand where you have to go get these points in, and to say it. I'm curious, Dusty, if you think even in the brief conversation you might have with Coach White, if this was his expectation at all coming into the season, defense would be so stout.
His expectation is grow this program year in, year out. And I think, needless to say, the way that Coach White has handled this situation, I mean, he's put a significant emphasis on both sides of the ball. Obviously, I think speed is something that we've seen over the last few years with Coach White and his squad. But listen to what he's had to say, man, because, I mean, this guy, he has the mind of a coach that wants to win and grow a program.
I mean, we got a dude back there, 5. There's shame on them for even punting to the kid. He's a dude. He's a squirrel. Dynamite, fast home run hitter for us as well. In this game, you must cover all three phases of it.
Yeah, I mean, and so obviously you see what he's been able to, and grow with this organization, this program, and to be able to watch this squad, take strides forward.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I haven't been in this community long enough to have seen what they looked like 20 years ago, but just on basic research and, knowing what has taken place with this group, this is special what he has accomplished at that school. And this will be a test on Friday because Manuel has the pieces to make a pretty deep run this year. They haven't 100% put it all together. Coach Keith Eckloff, who's also in his second year as a head coach. I mean, they fell 27-17 to South Warren in week 2, but it's also early on. And part of this, and Coach had mentioned this to me, he wanted a schedule that was very difficult because it helps his kids grow when it matters the most.
Sure.
They've been battle tested. I mean, it's the same things that you hear about with NFL or college, right? Like if you face a tough team early on, you're going to learn a lot about your squad early on. And so his team has had quite the gauntlet to start out. They were our game of the week to open the year against Central. Guess what they did? They won 42-0. They then fell to South Warren. They faced Frederick Douglass. And
Douglass seemed like it wasn't an easy challenge.
No.
Obviously, they came away with the win, but that in itself proved like another sort of challenge where this is very much a give and take. Who's going to relent first?
Yes, and that's, I mean, you kind of have to have those battles. And when you're talking about what they've been able to accomplish on the road, I mean, that's another thought to it too. They had to win this game on the road. So, and by the way, that game was completed the next day, which is bizarre.
So you could argue, when you've messed with the flow of a game and, the players, the athletes, after a night where you've kind of put in all your energy, hoping to just like use it all that night, to find out, if the weather does something, if the light fixtures, whatever other factors might influence that. And you're just saying like, oh gosh, I have to go think about
doing
back
this
again,
suit up
back in the zone and do it again. The morning after.
It's really hard to do that in any sport, but football in particular is, I mean, you work all week for that one game. Yeah. And so to have a hiccup where you're like, okay, I'm going to go back to sleep, wake up, suit up again, and hit as hard as I did yesterday when you're probably already hurting.
You're bruised.
And
you're going to be bruised.
You're supposed to be in the recovery stage that day, right? So, tip the cap to Manuel, what they've been able to accomplish. Coach Eckloff has done a great job. I really love that guy. I think that he is an incredibly kind human being. And, I've enjoyed every interaction I've had with him. Every interaction with Coach White has been amazing. I mean, these are two really good, kind coaches that are newer to their positions as far as the program they're with. And they're both having a significant impact at those schools. And
sounds like what they're trying to establish is a culture, and you might argue, Dusty, like it's about, the winning on the field would come secondary after that. I want to set whatever that culture is for these young men.
Yes, and at the high school level, that is about as crucial as it comes to have, the platform to be able to do that. I think they're both utilizing that very well. And, it's a pleasure for us to cover coaches that are likable people that obviously are trying to inspire. And every coach's job is to inspire. Every team thinks they have the best chemistry or whatever. These guys also have talent to work with, and they've also utilized the talent that they're given. So that's what makes a good program, is a good culture mixed with good talent and execution.
Sure.
And both of these teams happen to have both or all three of those traits. And so that'll be our kickoff on Friday night. So we'll have previews for you at 5:00 and 6:00 tomorrow. That will be at Atherton. I can't believe Friday is here. And then, of course, U of L is on its bye week.
Sure.
Kentucky plays Eastern Michigan after coming off that really tough, strange loss to Ole Miss. And so, we'll see what happens. And IU plays tomorrow night as well. So
no shortage of the football action, which is what we're looking forward to this time of year. I'm curious, Dusty, because, we have our notes spread out here on the desk. And, to say we're not quite at the halfway point for the high school guys yet in the season, but just comparing what schedules ahead look like, each of these teams, Atherton and Manuel, big games in front of them.
Yes.
Are you noticing strengths of schedule for either school moving forward? If there's any matchups beyond we'll get to talk about what this matchup will mean next Monday, next Monday. But are there any that stick out to you for either of these schools on the upcoming calendar?
Yeah, and with Manual specifically, I mean, with Atherton, they've got plenty of talent ahead of them. With Manual, I think everybody's going to be circling the St. X game in particular. That one is always a brawl. Last year, that was a crazy, crazy matchup. And you're talking about a St. X team that's definitely on the rise right now. I mean, let's be honest. This game this week is probably you can make the argument it's their second best one. They also have Cooper on the road. I mean, it is not an easy game. And then they close the year with Mail, which Mail's got to figure a couple things out, and that's not their own fault necessarily. I think the dynamic of the team changed a lot last year, losing Chase Burton to just a horrific injury. And we still are praying that he can make his return back. I know he's making strides in the right direction, but you don't know what that Mail team looks like in the final week of the season. So it very well could be a legitimate foe in opposition. They struggled this past week. Yeah. That was the reality of it against that St. X team. So we don't know much about that. But I will say St. X versus Manual is definitely circled on my calendar. And then when you look at Atherton in particular and, the schedule they have ahead of them, I mean, I would probably look ahead all the way to that final week of the regular season when they face North Oldham. That is a team that is explosive. They have players on players that can make plays in big-time moments. Their offense is incredible. They were a little bit stifled last week compared to what we're used to. I mean, we're used to seeing them march down the field with ease, and that did not necessarily happen this past week. But North Oldham could be a very difficult team for them to go up against. And, I mean, every one of these games is going to be tough in its own right. But if you're looking well ahead, as we, are kind of hitting, weirdly enough, the halfway regular season.
Yeah,
I can't even believe we're saying that. It doesn't feel right to say that.
No, because we're in mid-September.
Right. It doesn't feel right, but it is technically correct. Like once we're done with this week, you're borderline at that point. So I will say this. Teams are still learning their identities, and some teams don't figure out that identity until that second to last week before the playoffs. I was going to
say, not even at a game 6. Yes. It sounds like we're saying get to game 9, and maybe you'll really find out.
That's when you find out, and that's why these early games are, very helpful. I think they're more helpful than they hurt because they're a testament to where your value is, and they show where your, deficiencies are and how to address them. And so for both these squads on Friday, I mean, they're going to probably learn a little more about themselves than they even knew before. So, but we're getting to that point where we're seeing identities and, we get to the fun part pretty much right around this time of year. Week 1 is always tough. That's always the sloppiest ball. Ball is always on the ground somehow.
It still feels like a scrimmage. Yes. And obviously they've been practicing up and to this point through the summer. But to say now it's about executing proper that game plan.
Everybody looks like TCU facing North Carolina. I had to bring that up. I had to bring that out.
Well, it's so TCU keeps the momentum going. It's like saying if that was to get the cobwebs off the offense, shake those cobwebs off the offense, and then really put it to use in that Big 12 matchup.
Much like TCU with Louisville is experiencing kind of a weird early bye because the Frogs had a bye last week, 1 week after the opener. I mean, I don't understand why you need to buy that early, but here's Louisville this week. They have their first of 2 buys. And so, it's very strange, the construction of college football schedules. But the Frogs have a real big throwdown with my former market, Abilene Christian. So, I would expect Frogs by 90 in that one. And for the Cats on Saturday, man, I'll tell you what, Cats fans, just prepare because that team's defense is very good. The Cats defense, it can be solid. And I was very impressed by what they did against Ole Miss. The offense needs so much help. It is currently just a mess. I mean, I don't know what the quarterback situation moving forward is truly going to look like. Zach Calzada does not look comfortable in the backfield. He in the pocket, he's just kind of all over the place.
And you can read, and it's not necessarily all that game footage to come to that conclusion. But I mean, it's up to the coach to decipher, I guess, does he feel unprotected by his O-line, or is it just a quarterback that maybe still has to work out those rough grooves and understanding the playbook, perhaps.
And the playbook is one thing because, I mean, he was a transfer coming over from Incarnate Word. And I mean, there were a lot of people online talking about Cutter Bully should be getting the reps, and they brought him in late in the game against Ole Miss, and he put together a decent drive to start out. It didn't end particularly well, but I'm curious to see how Mark Stoops navigates this thing. We don't always get a lot of quality sound from him whenever we ask him questions. It's kind of a lot of nothing really when we get that from him. And I mean, he talks like a football coach, so that's to be expected. But yeah, I'm curious to see how that goes down, because that quarterback battle is one to monitor. And of course, we'll keep our eyes on Indiana moving forward as well. They got a big matchup, by the way. So they'll play on Friday night. Their big matchup is next Saturday.
So not this Saturday, but the next Saturday.
That one. And you know, coaches will be mad at me because they'll tell you take it one game at a time. You love that. I'm just gearing up for the following Saturday when they face Illinois. That is going to be a real testament to which of these teams is legit. Are they both legit? Are they both frauds? We don't know. I mean, you don't know.
You could have ugly wins.
Yes.
You could have ugly losses.
Yes.
You could have, knock them down, drag them out,
Right.
Offensive shootouts out there.
And IU didn't have a schedule last year that was worthy of really talking about week to week. But this one, this early on, having a top 10 matchup, I mean, top 10 being against Illinois, obviously, IU will be ranked somewhere in the 20s. And you would assume, as long as they take care of business on Friday. But I'm very curious.
And Illinois sort of backing up their current ranking, being in the top 10.
And that win against Duke on the road for Illinois was one that was very impressive to me. So beating a Darian Mensah kid who I covered in high school, very, very weird how I can move across the country. And, he was in California, makes his way to Duke, and he's a stud quarterback making quite a bit of NIL money, and they just stifled him, man. So Illinois is going to be a problem, and it's going to be interesting to watch Indiana and Illinois go head-to-head. But the biggest thing, Jose, right now might be Major League Baseball, man, because the Reds somehow they are still
staying alive.
I don't know how they're doing it, man. They're just 2 games back. I've seen all these memes out there. It's a rear view mirror and saying images look like they're closer than they're closer than they may appear. And that's somehow the Reds. I counted them out. I personally did. And now I'm backtracking on that. And I'm like, nah, they're not out yet. The pitching has showed up. The offense is doing enough. And something to monitor while we're ending with September. And I hate to report this to you, Jose. I'm in a huge fantasy baseball league, and my team is not doing well this week, and probably will be eliminated in the crunch time. So
I can think of one team you may hold a little more dear to your heart that has its seating in the NL West.
Is there
very? I don't know if that's not the right shade of blue for this
it may not
respective
be.
team,
It
but
may not be.
no, but it's funny because the games are still happening. All this breakdown of high school college football, as also you and I will be paying hyper close attention to the standings come the end of the regular season for Major League Baseball.
Yes, so. we will.
And you wanted to keep the Padres as far away from any sort of messing up those rankings as possible.
We want to see the Padres not be anywhere near Louisville either. I think that's probably the appropriate thing. The Reds have been helping out the boys in blue on the West Coast, and with I think there's a little tandem there until the postseason comes, and then you know what? Reds fans deserve to have something exciting, right? As a person that grew up in LA and has grown up with the Dodgers and seen the highs and lows, and yes, people don't realize there have been lows. There were lows. The Frank McCourt era was not a fun one, but Reds fans have been having to go through it. I mean, they've definitely been going through the ringer. And as somebody that loves the game of baseball, it is good when the Reds fans get it their way, right? It is a good thing when the Reds are good.
Yes.
And so it's been a while since they've had the chance to make the postseason. I mean, 2020 is the last time we saw them. They didn't even score a run. And so you go back to the Roy Halladay days, which is crazy to talk about that. Mm-hmm. That's the last time the Reds were truly relevant in this, and they didn't make it out of the DS. So I would love to see what they're capable of doing. If they can punch their ticket in there. I think their defense is very impressive. Mm-hmm. Their rotation at the top can be very special. Hunter Green is very good. Hunter Green, people had the chance to watch him here in Louisville. I try really hard to highlight the Bats because, by the way, the Bats are killing it right now. Mm-hmm. They've been on a wild winning streak, and they've just been on fire. Yes. And so I've been trying to tell people, get out to bats games, because they've had the chance over the last month and a half to see the likes of Hunter Green, to see Sal Stewart, who was literally the top prospect in this organization.
Mhm.
And people just didn't like give it a chance to watch him, and he was mashing. So I think the Reds have a lot of pieces. I'm a big Nick Lodolo guy, and I think that he can carve guys in the postseason. Ellie's got to turn it up a notch. Ellie's got stats that look great on paper, but he's really struggled in the power department. And so he's going to have to crank it up a notch. Clutch hitting. Austin Hayes has done a great job. And I'm curious to see how this team all kind of puts it together in the final weeks of the season.
Always good for a solid context-laden breakdown from our sports anchor, Dusty Baker. Dusty, Kendrick, by the way, we're looking forward to TDFN tomorrow night for all that game action. Dusty and Kendrick tonight on Wave News 11 going to give us a little more of those previews and those breakdowns.
We'll give you soccer as well.
A little soccer, because Louisville soccer, by the way,
they're really, really
also
good, man.
really good.
Oh my gosh. So they just beat Stanford, which is a huge deal, number one. And then, so they're 5-0. They haven't allowed a goal yet. Now, this is obviously at the time that we're speaking at the moment, but they have a matchup coming up this weekend against Virginia. And as we're speaking as well, the U of L women have a huge matchup currently going on against Florida State. So I'm going to retune myself back into that, because I need an update on that. And
ACC action.
Well, the highlights from that, we'll actually have a story tonight from the U of L soccer, the men's soccer team, and talking about this streak that they've been going on, and what a great start it was. And I'll tell you this, Jose, that is a very lively bunch. And you know that when people are playing soccer, they're coming from all over the world, right? And so you're going to have a really awesome group. It's going to be like a melting pot of different personalities, people from all over. There are so many Canadians on this team, and I thought that was really cool. They have several kids from like Manchester, and it was just a really awesome experience to hop out there and see the dynamic, because it's a team that clearly loves each other, and you'll hear that tonight, because they bring their personalities to the table. So
they're building success off that chemistry.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Appreciate always our Dusty Baker checking in. Dusty, appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.
Another quick look at, I'm going to call this a very multicolor skyline for our sunset, 826, looking gorgeous. The temperatures dipping just a little bit at 82 degrees. All right, we're going to reset to talk about more of the stories of the day, and we'll be right back with much more here on Wave Extra. Hi, everyone. Welcome back into the Wave Now studio for tonight's edition of Wave Extra. Just getting to some of the big stories, follow-ups, latest developments of the day. Chief among them being, of course, the big breaking story from yesterday, because the manhunt is still going on to find the person who shot and killed conservative political activist Charlie Kirk. Authorities say they have a picture and some idea of a person of interest, though they're still trying to decipher what the motive could be. Reporter Ed Lavandera has the latest on that search tonight.
More than 24 hours after Charlie Kirk was killed on a Utah college campus, the manhunt continues. Investigators have focused intensely on this Orem, Utah neighborhood next to the Utah Valley University campus. In the chaotic moments after the shooting, dispatchers had a description of the possible gunman.
Wearing all black, black long gun, black tactical helmet, a black mask, possibly wearing a tactical vest and jeans.
We met an electrician working near the university who says someone matching that description approached a co-worker at this job site.
He had black sunglasses, he had a black COVID mask, he had a black trench coat, black cargo pants, and he was wearing a small backpack, and he also had long, greasy black hair. The guy said, "Someone's been shot."
Looking back on it, did that person think that was the shooter now?
The guy was already trying to leave. And so we were then shown a picture by the sheriff at the time, and the excavator said that it matched.
The FBI also released images of a person of interest and posted up to a $100,000 reward for information leading to an arrest.
So there's somebody on the roof right there?
And say they have what they call good video of the suspect.
That individual appears to be of college age.
That video has not yet been released. Investigators say they have also located the weapon they believe was used in the shooting.
That rifle was recovered in a wooded area where the shooter had fled. It is a high-powered bolt-action rifle.
According to sources with knowledge of the investigation, the rifle was scrawled with phrases related to cultural references.
Investigators have also collected footwear impression, a palm print, and forearm imprints for analysis.
And law enforcement officials say they have more details about the shooter's movements on Wednesday.
Starting at 11:52 a.m., the subject arrived on campus through the stairwells, up to the roof, across the roof to a shooting location.
Almost 30 minutes later at 12:20 p.m. Mountain Time, just as Kirk began to answer a question about gun violence, he was shot in the neck.
Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years? Counting or not counting gang violence? Great.
Shot from a distance of about 150 yards, according to CNN estimates. And law enforcement officials say they tracked the gunman's movements across the roof.
He moved to the other side of the building, jumped off of the building, and fled off of the campus and into a neighborhood.
So a report there from Ed Lavandera. And while that was happening earlier today, we also found out about multiple historically black colleges and universities in several states then being put on lockdown sometime today. Among those updates, Virginia State University had to abruptly close because there was a threat reported to campus. Leadership at VSU didn't elaborate on the kind of threat it was receiving. However, the school said no one was reported hurt. Students that lived on campus were told to stay indoors. We learned of several other schools that apparently received threats and closed, one of them being Hampton University because of a potential threat to campus. And on Thursday, even more on that list included institutions like Alabama State, Clark Atlanta, Spelman, Southern, and Bethune-Cookman. So just counting the list there I had there. So it's Virginia State, Hampton, Alabama State, Clark Atlanta, Spelman, Southern, and Bethune-Cookman. So by my count, there being 7 HBCUs that would have reported these particular lockdowns and closures to protect their student body. And some other big developments and updates on information from this afternoon. New doorbell footage shows students went running for cover after there was a nearby shooting at a high school in Colorado. So there's now ring camera of kids just looking for somewhere to go. You see a student appear at the home where this ring doorbell is, But you see the reaction right there as the video continues by the dozens. The kids are starting to run up to the door, past the house, trying to find somewhere to stay safe. This happened yesterday at Evergreen High School in Colorado again. The county sheriff's office identified the shooter as a 16-year-old who died at the scene because he died by suicide. And the teen was a student at the school who had shot 2 of his classmates.
I was scared and I felt like sick because I was worried. I texted my mom.
And what were those messages kind of like?
I just told her what was happening and that I was safe, but scared.
Investigators say they don't have a specific motive yet for why the shooting happened, but they did say the suspect had been, quote, radicalized by an extremist network. Officers say even though the scene was chaotic, there were some students and staff who knew how to respond so that it ended up saving lives, and they were able to respond in that way. Coming back to some updates that are closer here to the Louisville Metro, and we're learning a little bit more as city leaders are planning to fill a vacancy that will be have to be filled by the passing of the now late Jefferson County Clerk Bobby Holzclaw. Holzclaw was county clerk for almost 3 decades. In fact, she died yesterday morning at age 81. We learned that with her family by her side. Mayor Craig Greenberg says that he is going to appoint a new county clerk who's going to serve, though, until the 2026 election, which would be the next cycle for voters to decide who would, at least in their minds, succeed Bobby Holzclaw. In a statement today, the mayor says he started his process of identifying candidates for the temporary position, though he does plan to say more once a decision is made. We don't have an exact timeline for when that confirmation of appointing a new county clerk will happen. But when we do, we'll make sure to let you all know on air, through the TV, online, through the website, and through the free Wave News app, of course. Heads up for drivers. We're dealing with some more ramp closures that are going to happen this weekend on a busy weekend already across parts of Louisville, but this is going to impact you all. Plans coming through downtown Louisville, I-65 South. So you could see just exactly where this impact is going to be, and by looking at your screen. These are roads that need a little bit of a touch up. So starting tomorrow at 8, ramps on I-65 South to 71 North and 65 South to I-64 West. Those are going to be closed, KYTC. On top of that, adding that the I-65 South ramp to 64 East is going to be open. Crews are going to work. They want to apply some surface treatments, what they call high friction treatments, to make sure the driving is a little safer around this part of where the roads are all meeting. The ramps, at least the ones that are closed that you see there for the weekend, they're supposed to be reopened Monday morning at 5. It is 8:37 here in our master clock, looking at more of the stories we want to reset for you. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, be right back with some more of today's top stories and investigations that our news reporting team has been able to, look into and share with you through all those different means. So we're going to take that short break and be right back with more of tonight's Wave Extra. Welcome back into Wave News Extra tonight at 8:40, going through some more headlines and stories I want to share with you as you're unpacking the day, the busy work day on this Thursday. Some good news if you're in the market for a new home right now, because we learned earlier this afternoon mortgage rates dropped for the first time in months. 30-year fixed mortgage rates now averaging at least 6.35% this week. It is a dip from the 6.5% that was the norm for the week prior. The drop in mortgage rates is coming, though, as some U.S. economists and financial experts are saying there may be a bit of a faster deterioration, as they put it, faster than they had expected. All right, coming back in to the Wave News, the Wave Now studio, Kentucky's top court. They say they're going to have the final say on the status of charter schools and the funding they would receive in the Commonwealth. The Supreme Court hearing arguments over whether or not these schools, and specifically the funding they're receiving, is constitutional. Reporter Phil Pendleton has more, looking at the debate at Center College.
Oh yay, oh yay.
The Kentucky Supreme Court heard arguments at Center College after a Franklin Circuit judge ruled in 2023 that House Bill 9, which set up the funding plan for charter schools, violated the Kentucky Constitution.
Because there's no question they use public money. There's been no argument to the contrary. They're taking the public schools seek money and local money.
The General Assembly approved of charter schools to, quote, and I'm quoting the law, close achievement gaps for low-performing groups of public school students.
Charter schools are popular in other places. In fact, one argument is the fact there are 45 states that recognize the importance of them and are using them, including all 7 states that border Kentucky. The bill approving them actually came in 2017, but the way to fund them came several years later.
Gives parents a greater role in the education of their kids. It encourages innovation, and that's how it's worked in our sister states.
But some representing Kentucky's educators say that it'll be a drain on the entire public school system.
For each student that leaves a common school and decides to attend a charter school, those SEEK dollars would not be given to that local school district.
Justices were told that charter schools were similar to magnet schools, but the other side said magnets would have greater accountability than charter schools. Boyle County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
And as far as the timeline for when the justices would rule on the matter, that has not been set in stone, but we'll certainly share if or when they do come to their majority decision on this matter of charter school funding for the state of Kentucky. I want to bring you in now to what's going to be a very lengthy Troubleshooters investigation that we're sharing with you tonight. Thanks to our troubleshooter, Alina Noakes, for what we're about to walk you through. So in essence, several homeowners in one part of Bullitt County wanted to sound the alarm, as they put it, about one of the nation's top home builders. So this is a company responsible for building their respective homes because they say they found their properties infested with mold just months after they were built. So Alina spent some time going into these homes, taking a look at what these complaints and concerns are, the owners and their work and their effort, their fight to get the answers they feel that they're deserving of. The home builder in question here is a brand name of D.R. Horton. They're a Forbes 500 company. They make more than $36 billion in revenue just last year after closing on more than 89,000 homes. But some of those closings came out of Bullitt County, so this is where the story will begin. And as soon as some of those homeowners closed to start to move in and have that be the next part of their life, some of them who sat down to talk to Wave News say that's when the problems started to begin.
These are the sights and sounds of new homes.
This is terrible.
And these are some of the sights and sounds inside one of those homes. Most of these homes were built by D.R. Horton, a multi-billion-dollar company that has grown to construct homes in 39 states since 1978, including Kentucky and most recently right here in Bullitt County. This is exactly where Josh Haben and his family want to be, just not under these conditions.
So I think that we first noticed elevated humidity within probably 2 to 3 weeks of moving into the house.
The family moved in April. As summer set in, thermostats registered up to 95% humidity on the hottest day, as dehumidifiers run 24/7.
The highest on those has reached over 90%, and we continuously pull 2 gallons of water out of each dehumidifier daily.
And then there's these holes in the ceiling of the house, exposing moisture had been building up on the HVAC piping.
Believe it or not, was all bubbled up. That's why this paint is coming off like that. So it was bubbled up from the water dripping through it.
And where there was water, they'd soon find mold inside the walls, like where this massive chunk is cut out. These holes mark where he tested moisture levels, which measured at 23%.
You can do your own research on what 23% moisture in a wall does.
For a while, Haben thought they were the only ones dealing with issues like this, but they weren't.
Vent here, it has mold that's been growing on it. That's actually what they did the swab on.
Ashley Mills quickly saw a dripping vent in her guest bathroom become covered in mold. She reported it to her D.R. Horton warranty representative immediately.
He came out, he looked at it, he sprayed some Kills over it, and that was that.
So Mills ordered a mold test. The report she got back showed several kinds of mold in her bathroom at abnormally high levels. Hoppen's report shows something similar.
Mold is mold. You know, so whether it was a high dangerous mold or, you know, even if it's at a low level, I mean, that low level can always grow to be more than what it is.
Mills said her family has been left with a noticeable increase in respiratory issues and a lingering concern that the mold may not only be in one little bathroom.
Is there more than we know about that's growing up in there? Is it in the insulation? If there's any, is there, you know, is it getting on the wood, you know, like the framing, any framing of the house, you know, because I don't want to deal with issues later down the road.
After this interview, Mills did discover that there was mold growing around her HVAC piping inside the walls. Both Haben and Mills say the root cause behind the humidity and mold growth still isn't clear. Since this interview, D.R. Horton representatives have visited both of these homeowners. They say they've started efforts to remove the mold, honoring their warranty, but that hasn't removed the frustration for the 28-year-old dad from having his new home become a hostile place to live.
How does that leave you feeling as a homeowner to know that's where your family is sleeping and eating and living every single day?
Honestly, it kind of makes me feel really bad because as the guy, you know, you're supposed to be the provider and things. And then you put your family, hold on, sorry.
Take your time.
It's the first time somebody's asked me that question. But I mean, ultimately, you know, that makes me feel really bad because as the guy, you know, you're supposed to be the provider and then you provide for your family, right? And put them in a house filled with mold, especially with a 2-year-old. And so it makes me feel very bad. I know it makes my wife feel very bad that our son's exposed to that as well.
Our thanks to Arlene Oaks for that report. Now, since that interview, Hoban and Mills say they've actually seen some more mold growing in new places in their respective properties. Wave News Troubleshooters did reach out to D.R. Horton to find out why this was happening to these homeowners, what they are doing to fix it as far as their responsibilities to what is going on. The only response we got back from the company is a quote I'm reading to you now. So it's saying D.R. Horton is aware of some homeowners in the Coral Ridge vicinity and have been diligently working with affected homeowners to address these concerns accordingly. D.R. Horton is committed to superior customer service and building quality homes and neighborhoods in Louisville and across the U.S. And every D.R. Horton home comes with a robust warranty, end quote. So that, of course, will be something you can read in full if you wanted to, kind of go through it at your own pace with Alina's video report online on wave3.com. We're going to end tonight with one more look, just reflecting on the different ways as we were able to visit out today, that the community was reflecting on the anniversary of 9/11, September 11th, 2001, 24 years ago to the state, of what happened in New York City, the impact since then. So we're going to reset and leave you all with the reports and the stories we want to share with that coming up after this break on Wave Extra. Welcome back, everyone. Coming in around 8:52 on tonight's Wave Extra. This is a little bit of our stop by as the Gaslight Festival was getting ready to move and groove in J-Town tonight. Many people, of course, getting the fun in early around the J-Town Shopping Center for the parade as it was strolling through. The Gaslight Festival has grown to an 8-day extravaganza now. And of course, if you're familiar with it, leads to a bowling event, features a bowling event, a car show, much more. You can also go check out, meet hundreds of local vendors setting up. If you're heading out to the parade, maybe if you already spent some time out of the parade, would love to see your pictures. Send them to us at Wave News. Would be something really cool to see. You'll want to know what to wear. Big question. So by the way, as the fun continues, not just for the Gaslight Festival, but for all the fun happening this weekend, a reminder that the storm tracking team, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harned, are going to be breaking that down for us tonight on Wave News at 11. All right, stepping over to other parts of town, racing and returning to Churchill Downs for opening day of the September meet. Here's just a little bit of that preview action for any folks wanting to step in and come by the hallowed grounds. It's a 14-day lineup, including races that could produce some starters in this year's Breeders' Cup and then next year's Derby. Average winning for races, if you're not familiar, worth more than $100,000. Race days are Wednesdays through Sundays until September 28th. Different nights, if you come by to visit the track, have different themes. Tonight's was the first of 3 Twilight Thursdays. The theme to honor first responders, of course, being 9/11. All first responders were able to get in free. General admission for the September meet is $10, $5 if you are a college student. Bringing you back in here to the Wave Now studio as we sort of take the time to reflect on the anniversary. It's a solemn and a somber one across the nation. 24 years since the September 11th attacks across different parts of the country, where nearly 3,000 people died. Locally, several events around town wanted to take the time to honor those lives lost. The sentiment from the myriad of folks we spent some time talking to is that they will never forget. This was part of what our Wave News anchor Brian Schlonsky had in their conversations with these folks.
God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Across
Across Louisville, ceremonies to remember the nearly 3,000 lives lost on 9/11. Young and old, those who remember that day like it was yesterday, and those who have yet to turn the page of a history book.
What's that? Yeah, that's a flag over there.
In J-Town, a permanent memorial sits at First Responders Remembrance Plaza. There was prayer, song, and the tolling of a bell to signify each time a hijacked plane was crashed.
It was important for the city of Jeffersontown and working with our police department and our fire department to find a way that we could commemorate that experience and be able to continue educating the public on the events of that day.
Across town, at the Louisville Division of Fire Headquarters, the chief trying to put into words what it means to run toward a disaster instead of away from one.
All of the folks, whether at the Pentagon or in New York City, that saw those terrible catastrophes and ran towards it. It's not a paycheck that makes you run towards disaster like that. I promise you that. It is love.
September 11th, 2001, still the deadliest day in the history of the fire service. Then Thursday morning at Butler High School, dozens of students got to school early before the sun was up, planting 2,977 flags in the grounds outside their school, each flag for a life lost.
But every year we come out, this is my second year doing this, we come out and we do a memorial for 9/11 just to remember the lives that were lost that day and just, hopefully this never happens again.
And 24 years later, during a week in summer of particular, visible, high-profile violence, the mayor pleading with our city to not lose sight of the fact that we are one.
Let's come together now. Come together to end the violence that is plaguing our country still today. Political violence, street violence, shootings in schools, shootings at our banks.
Brian Schlonsky with that report from him today. And seeing here, going through some more of our stories today. I was want to set that up with you all sometimes. In the setup of having my screens ready, I thought I'd click the right buttons to let you all know about a story that was coming up here. And so, okay, this is what I was wanting to set up. Despite, of course, passing the decades, 24 years now since what happened September 11th of 2001, first responders and survivors still being impacted by 9/11 related health conditions, as hundreds of thousands of people were exposed to toxins. And in that regards, I believe we might have, okay, this is where I think there may be one more effort, a report here from our reporter Lee Waldman. I believe this is in the search, though, for some victims of that day back in 2001 that still have not been fully confirmed. And of course, there are still those loved ones and people who care trying to make sure that there is some of that closure from that awful day.
My mom was just a super woman who certainly should not have been murdered in that way.
It took nearly 24 years, but Paul Keating and his siblings have a new sense of closure after their mother, Barbara Keating's remains were identified. Barbara was on one of the planes hijacked by terrorists on 9/11.
They asked us for the DNA when they thought that there was a chance they found hair in a hairbrush. And, she was on the short list, obviously, from the plane.
Barbara's remains were identified along with two others last month, Ryan Fitzgerald and a woman whose family is choosing to withhold her name. It's a part of the ongoing efforts by the New York City Office of Chief Medical Examiner.
This office made a very solemn promise to the families of the victims who were lost on September 11th, 2001, to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to identify their loved ones and return them to their families.
So far, the OCME has identified 1,653 remains from the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center in 2001. These latest identifications came from outreach to families for DNA reference samples and analysis using the capabilities of the city's DNA lab. Keating says they're eternally grateful for the work done by the medical examiner's office to bring them closure.
It's amazing. And Yes, they did it milligram by milligram. They're still at it.
In New York, I'm Lee Waldman.
My mom was just a soup.
Coming up to close the hour tonight, as we're getting close to 9 o'clock, a reminder that all the day's top stories, not just local, but national, and things that, of course, of interest to anyone and everyone, getting updated as soon as we're able to get that information posted and share with you here on our home website, the page, wave3.com. And a reminder, we make sure to send as much of that updated information as we do get it as well if you download the free Wave News app, the Wave Weather app, for all of your needs as you're going about your day. Hope you stick around tonight for the Night Owls, who will watch our reporting on Wave News at 11. An investigation from our reporter Logan Perrone to check in on a campaign for suicide prevention awareness from our Julia Richardson, breakdowns from the sports guys, and Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harnett as we get now one day closer to the weekend. Appreciate everyone's time, of course, for joining us here in the Wave Now studio for tonight's Wave News Extra. I'm Jose Sosaya. Until then, take care. We'll see you tomorrow night.